Hi, welcome to Athens Politics Nerd. Today we'll continue our series of interviews with candidates running for local office. Commissioner Carol Myers is running for re-election in District 8, and she'll be opposed by MAGA Republican Sidney Waters, better known as Mama Sid. Waters never responded to our requests for an interview. One thing about this race that I should disclose is that Myers is an APN member, so there's a financial conflict of interest here. But another APN member, VG Kanan, bailed me out and volunteered to do this interview. She was the one who finalized the questions, and I was just there as the cameraman. So let's get into it. Here's Carol Myers.
Hi Carol, thank you for doing this interview with us.
Yeah, it's great to be here with Athens Politics Nerd.
So I wanted to start by asking you to briefly tell us a little bit about your background and what motivates you to run for a second term on the Athens-Clarke County Commission.
What motivates me to run, and I will not recount my whole history, but way back when I was in college in 1976 to 80, I think what I really glommed onto was that think globally, act locally, and that's just sort of inspired me in my life, as well as the do unto others as you want them to do unto you that I got from my years in Catholic school. I am very interested in participating. I always have been. In college, I was working on divestment of South Africa, working on Take Back the Night marches for women and such. Those kind of things enrich your life so much. You give back, but you get so much back. So in terms of running a second term, it seems like it's something I should do and I want to do. I already knew a lot coming into the role of county commissioner. I'd been on several SPLOST committees. I'd been on other commissions. I'd been in the audience at City Hall for several years watching things. But even so, as a new commissioner, I have learned so much more. I often say I thought there were 20 topics. I had 3 or 4 that I was really passionate about, but I thought there were 20, but it's more like there's 200. So, in some ways, I feel like it's a responsibility of mine. I've learned so much about the commission. I care about the community, and I need to give back further to take advantage of everything I've learned from the county and from the people and the many people I've met during the last 4 years.
Okay. What to you is the most important issue facing Athens-Clarke County, and how would you address that issue?
I actually think that the most important issue facing Athens-Clarke County is the one that I saw when I came here to Athens in 1984, and it's one that I saw when I was on the SPLOST committee in 2005, and that's the high level of poverty and its effect on Athenians. In 2005 on the SPLOST committee, I had the privilege of helping evaluate the SPLOST projects, and one of them that year was for a new jail. And I had the experience of the opportunity to take a tour through every hallway of the old jail. And what hit me profoundly was that so many of those, there was this big quad, like dorm room kind of thing. If it had been a camp, it would have looked like you would expect it at a camp, except for it was a jail. And it had a center area for the guards, and all around it were these young men and they were, primarily African American young men, and they looked just like my students at Athens-Tech. They did not look scary, and they looked like they were bored, and I thought, what a waste for them, for the community and such. Fast forward 20 years later, and here we are with a murder a couple of weeks ago of a little 3-year-old boy because of gun violence. And there's almost, the police department says there's almost maybe 1,000 people involved with gangs in Athens. And this is in areas where people are really challenged economically and socially in terms of getting any advancement in their life. And this is you're here in my nice middle-class neighborhood. People are struggling in this community. And so right now I'm really interested in how we reach out to the youth and those youth who are not finding productive, meaningful lives that are, away from guns and gangs. I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago before little baby Dro was shot, just like the week before, to go on a ride along with one of the officers with the police department. Officer Chambers, and his specialty is working with gangs. And, I think I was a little nervous going out. I'd never been in a police car, but basically we went driving around. We went over to Cedar Shoals and we looked around, and he says, I look around and I see what's going on, and I see the colors people are wearing. And he talked to me about the young men, mostly men, but women too, in our community who are looking for exactly the same things that you and I are looking for in our lives. Meaning, purpose, connection, perhaps a little status, a little reward. These are the same things that drive young men in our community to affiliate with gangs and guns. So I know there's a lot of awareness of that in the commission right now, and I think that's really important for us to address as a community and that ties in with our need to address affordable housing as well, and the lack of housing. I'm really concerned that everyone from middle-class people like myself down to people with very low incomes, and of course our homeless population as well, there's not going to be any more room for us and them, thus all of us. I'm going to just use us in Athens in the housing market. So I know my daughter right now is living with her family right over on a duplex over on off of Cedar Shoals. She's paying almost as much as I do every month for her 2-bedroom apartment as I do for my mortgage on this house. Something's wrong there.
Well, speaking of affordable housing, the affordable housing plan is passed, but the $5 million needed to fund the plan still needs to be voted on. And so what are your thoughts on allocating $5 million to the affordable housing plan?
I am committed to doing that. Fortunately, I was just meeting with several of my commissioner colleagues this morning. Commissioner Thornton was talking about using the unallocated ARPA funds or unallocated budget funds for that. I totally support that. I think that it'll be interesting to see where our discussions go in May, because there's a lot of needs in the community and there's a limited source of money. Mm-hmm. So at a certain point, you have to make a decision. Do I get in another $2 million by keeping the millage rate at a certain place, or do I cut the millage rate further? So we're going to have those discussions as well. But there are other sources of money too. I was looking at the, a lot of times we have a lot of plans, right? And a lot of times people criticize the plans. And I thought to myself today, here's the affordable housing reports and plans over there. But I thought to myself, the problem isn't the plans. The problem is us following through on the plans. And as a leader in the community, I'm the one who needs to be saying, hey, we have a strategic plan for addressing homelessness and for affordable housing. We need to look what's in there and follow through. So I want to really follow through on that plan that we put together. There's a bunch of there's like 2 or 3 pages of revenue sources in there. I think are TADs. I was just over at a meeting of the Lexington Road TAD the other day, and I forget the number. You guys can look it up. It might be $700,000. It has more money in it than other TADs because of that large Mammoth Atlas apartment complex, which is really for students. One of the TAD allocation areas is affordable housing. And, that's where we need to be spending that money. We can take that money, invest it in that part of town, and use it for affordable housing.
Okay. And while there are various sites that house the unhoused, what are your thoughts on a local government-owned homeless shelter?
I am not against it. I'd be, let me talk about this. Another plan, strategic plan to reduce and prevent homelessness. We have a homeless coalition that's put together, and we're funding to get an executive director for that. We have homeless providers. One of the things that is really important to me as a commissioner is to use the resources of the community and follow their advice. I often tell constituents and other people in Athens that I need to hear from you. The people up at Jittery Joe's know me a lot because I'm often meeting with people there, having a coffee, and learning about different issues. So in terms of the county owning that, if that's what comes out of our discussions with the Homeless Coalition, that is a way I would be ready to go forward with. There has been some discussion among the commissioners already on that. So the way that would work is we would build the facility, but then we would also be working with some nonprofit or some organization to run it. So that's a common way to move forward, and I could see that being something similar. I don't know if you all know about it, but I'm pretty excited about this program that John Q. Williams, our sheriff, is doing in the jail. He's partnered with Habitat for Humanity, and they are building tiny homes. And actually, what I really like about it is that instead of starting with the men, they started with the women. So getting women into a productive, sort of work path. And there's actually something with Habitat for Humanity where you go through this building apprenticeship program, which the women are doing, and you get some sort of certificate moving forward. I know that out in the building world, there's a real shortage of people who are skilled workers. So I was thinking what a neat idea that was to have those tiny homes built there. I'm not sure where they're going to end up, but I love that idea.
So the proposed new courthouse is important for the safety of everyone involved in court cases, but it is over budget. How should the new courthouse be funded?
Well, it's not the only thing that's over budget, and it's not all over budget because it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and perhaps it has gotten bigger. That's, if you ask me about the Eastside Library and the firehouse, I'll know even more. It's Commissioner Davenport who's working on that site selection for the courthouse, but the construction costs have just gone up so much. Fortunately, we have great ACC staff. In addition to not being an expert on homelessness, I am not an expert on large construction financing. So what I do as a commissioner is I look at the needs of the community, and I look at the funding options that the staff will bring us. There is a possibility to say, okay, we're going to do this in stage 1 and then stage 2. They know of other bonding for opportunities and ways of accumulating finance. There's also, I just pulled this up, the T-SPLOST and the SPLOST programs, I know this from having served on those committees, they always end up with more balance because more money is collected. At least they have recently. Some of that money could go to the courthouse. On the other hand, as an Eastside person, some of it could go to the Eastside Library as well. Right now, our funds for that are such that we can only build a library that's about half the size of what it was intended to be in the first place.
And finally, is there anything in particular you would like to make voters aware of that has not already been discussed?
I have 5 things. So one of the things I ran on, or there are 2 things that I was very involved in before. Probably at the top of that is my commitment to 100% renewable energy. And I was very involved with a group that pushed the commission to pass a resolution on that. And then also, we worked very hard on getting $15.6 million on the SPLOST 2020 program, and that's to be spent to implement that 100% resolution. I'm a key person on the commission now to bring that up. Myself and Commissioner Houle probably brings it up as well, but as we know, they are leaving. And so for me, it's really important to be on there to keep that commitment. One thing that's interesting on that is I've found that a lot of that money, it's sort of a win-win situation for the county and for people when we have programs that are helping homeowners and low-income homeowners to fix up their houses so that they're using less energy, but that means they also have cheaper, utility bills. We also have all of this fleet replacement, upkeep on houses, upkeep on roofs. So a lot of that 100% money actually goes to stuff that we need to do anyway. I'm also the big person on the commission for a walkable, busable, bikeable Athens with safe streets. And I'll continue to carry forth that commitment on there. Really important, though, I know for people who live on this side of town, is my commitment to the east side. One of my platform points is for a thriving east side. I can't claim that, I was started the construction of the new Kroger's over here that we've been waiting for, but I was there for the groundbreaking, and I have been talking to the Kroger's people. More important for me is the new Eastside Library and a firehouse. There's also a coalition of neighborhood leaders that I've been involved with, who are starting to really look at the east side, its sense of place. We have a local landscaping architect firm that's come in and to give us some ideas pro bono, as well as actually just last week there was a architectural firm that came and talked about making some of our crosswalks over here safer. I cannot leave this without talking about EMS, our emergency response system, and our ambulance service. Sam Raffel is one of my constituents, has been working tirelessly on this with Bob Gadd to improve our emergency response. So the fire department is really important to me because, fires, you don't want your houses and things burning up. But 60% of the calls that the fire department responds to are for medical emergencies. And so we need to support the fire department in that. I was, really shocked to learn that if I'm going to have, and I'm a cyclist for fun and for transportation, but when I do it for fun, I'm out in Oglethorpe County and Madison County. Something happens to me there and an ambulance comes, there's a paramedic in that ambulance. Something happens to me in Clarke County, there's a EMS or EMS plus, but there's not a paramedic. And a paramedic is the one you want there if it's a real emergency. There are some time, but it's a coin toss. And finally, real boring stuff, but really important stuff. Stormwater, infrastructure, pavement, intersections. We have to take care of the community that we have, the infrastructure. I often say the county, it's like, I got my house. I got to think about how this all works and being here for the long term. When am I going to replace the roof, the heater? The same thing for the county and our parks. So we have the Athens-Clarke County, the staff put together these life cycle plans. We have to fund those things. Stormwater is a big issue. And with more rain coming and more intense rains with climate change, we have to make sure we have a robust system here in place. So clearly there's a lot I can talk about. There's a lot I've learned. I have a lot of commitment to the community. I have a lot of respect for the staff. I totally support our mayor. I do not want him to resign, as some people have been calling for. I think maybe our congressman. And so I want to work with them and with my colleagues to continue to do what's best for Athens and just make it as good a place for as many people to live.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much to VG Conan for doing this interview. Next up, we'll take a look at the District 2 Commission race with Melissa Link and Jason Jacobs. I'll see you on the next one.